I believe you're all caught up with the latest in tech trends. Now, back to the conversation. As I was introducing earlier, today's conversation is quite a touchy subject. And we've been having some in-house conversation even before coming on air about how much of an effect it is having on the youth these days. So if you're on TikTok or you're on Facebook, I think TikTok is mostly where I see these things lately, and from my interaction with my producer as well. He's also been noticing such a trend on TikTok as well. And it has to do with, you would find that a lot of these live videos, that the live that people go on and then have people joining and maybe giving out some, I don't know what you call them, but like gifts. Yes, yeah. Gifts and all those things. Of course, it is a good thing. People are able to make some little returns from being online.
Yeah,
some
people are selling.
Selling, doing all kinds of stuff. But there's the other side as well, where nudity is becoming gradually creeping into the system. You'd find that someone would start a live conversation and invite, and it's mostly women who invite people to join, and then ask them to do certain acts of, nudity that you realize that it's not really comfortable, if I should say, because some people have very contrary views to this. I don't know how that's going to be, but we want to know what exactly informs some of these things. I'm Kenneth Darko. I'm your host for today, sitting in for Adobia Brichum. And my guest here today, I'll start from my immediate right. Noeli Aram Abla is a digital media manager. You're welcome.
Thank you. So good to be back on this show. And it's such a breath of fresh air to take a break from our regular show and be here. So I'm excited to talk about something else apart from love every time.
Right. To my extreme right is another friend of mine, Isnam Batali.
Yay.
She's a digital marketing strategist. Welcome to you.
I'm a marketing professional.
Okay.
Like a 360 marketing person.
Step on us, please.
She's amazing.
You know, when we posted the poster that we're going to be in the show, somebody like, you and this S-Nap girl again.
Strong and Sassy Reloaded.
I know.
Strong and Sassy Pro Max. But yes,
exactly.
Today is Geek Squad. Today we are
geeks. It's actually fun to be on a show where people actually get to see what we do in
real life.
That's great.
The other side.
You see the other side of you as well.
Yes. That's also
we're
fun.
glad to be here.
Yes.
You're welcome, and I'm happy to have you guys here as well.
Right, let's get into the conversation.
It's mostly the boys, and it's sometimes
somebody gets boring.
You need to sack Prince Safo. Get some more girls in the studio. But the conversation today, how much do you think TikTok is sort of influencing the behavior of young people on social media, essentially? How much of an influence negatively do you think it's having on them?
To a large extent, I think social media has become a part of our lives. So it's no longer like influencing, it's a key component of our lives. Like, I was thinking about it when the topic was given to me, and I realized that virtually everything we do now is tied to social media. I recently bought an air fryer. I've never used an air fryer before. But I went on social media to search for how to use it for something that I wanted to prepare for the first time. And my first time using it, I went on social media. I didn't even Google it. I went on TikTok to search for it. So to an extent, social media has become part of our lives. Now, as much as it has its positives, it sure has its negatives. And for young people, especially young women, it has become a very, very, very big menace. It's a rabbit hole you don't want to start getting into, because when you start, it's like quicksand. The moment you start talking about it, you would go in deep, and you realize that the problem is bigger than we think. The problem is bigger than what we see on the surface. It's really negatively affecting a lot of young women nowadays.
What do you think about it?
I mean, I first of all, I'm not a big TikTok person. So when I saw the topic, I was like, "Aibo." TikTok. But then, I'll start with like the way she started. Social media is a part of our life, and in what we do on a daily, there is no brand strategy or no conversation that we're having with brands these days that TikTok is not part of it. Because everything that we do is about bringing the content to the people where they are, and most of our target audience sit in this demographic. So obviously TikTok is there, right? So like Israeli said, I personally chose not to enter or dabble in TikTok because it's a rabbit hole. Like, you have people who spend hours in that rabbit hole finding all kinds of things. And so then that drives you, one way that affects people is even in terms of productivity. Every Gen Z I work with, 2 seconds they're on TikTok. Like, you give them something to do, they're on TikTok. Are you working or you are on TikTok? So, and you see, when we don't have these boundaries as people, then we end up in the situations that we're in, because it's become a quicksand and such a rabbit hole. Now curators of content want to put something out there that will draw people into the quicksand. And that's what is dragging us to the negative. Because I mean, when this thing started, I mean, COVID, I mean, we're trying to build a community. Now you realize that people are deviating from the natural, nice family content that they started with into the gutters. And that is producing the things that we're seeing now. So it started on a positive note, and then now we're where we are right now.
So on the negative note, right? And since the emphasis mostly is on explicit content, on that subject specifically, what do you think is drawing many of the youth into that aspect of social media? Like, is it a thing of, I mean, having pre-existing interest in that, or you think there's some powers, so to speak, that's
powers,
like drawing them
to that.
to that when it comes to TikTok or other social media
before
platforms?
Esnam will come in, I'm sure one thing we mentioned whilst I don't want to say backstage, off air, was boredom. And like I rightly mentioned, people start with this nice content, then go into the gutters, and then trends. And these days, the world has become such a small place that if something starts in America, give it 2 days, it's already in Ghana. Because the platform is joining us together. So the trend starts from here to goes there, the trend starts from there, and it comes
down.
So it's like, oh, this is the new thing, let's jump on it. And then in the jumping on it, and I always say that sometimes something will come up, it will get here, and people will just destroy it. By the time they finish doing it, you're like, this is not how it started. I am sure that when we asked the people who developed the app, this was not, when they were upgrading the features, this was not the things that we wanted it to do. You were talking about nudity. In the past, I mean, the three of us, when they put the average of our ages together, in the past, there was a place where there were particular content. You only go there. If we find it on your phone, you become ashamed of it. Right? But now, it's open source. You go to your phone.
It's there.
It's there. Over to you.
Your question is why?
Yeah,
right?
so what's drawing them
What's
specifically
drawing
to the explicit content?
So, this is how I think about it. I think that young people are quite impressionable, right? And I think that everybody wants a certain sense of belonging and some sort of celebration. If you look at the statistics, most people, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, don't aspire to work in professional settings. They don't aspire to be employees and stuff. Most of them just want to create content, self-employed, do things on the internet and make money. So it's a generational thing.
Isn't that a good thing?
No, I'm coming. I'm building my point, right? So it's about trying to make money off the internet. So their entire lives are documented. Now, some people know how to draw the line to say that I don't cross this line when it comes to my content, or I've put the boundary, I've set the limit that I don't do this when it comes to my content. But someone growing up who has seen their role model also putting their lives on the internet don't have the emotional maturity and the capacity to say that I'm drawing the line. For them, everything goes. And because they're impressionable, comments, encouraging comments. So I show my us one day, like maybe I turn myself and I'm doing TikTok and I turn myself, I'm endowed, I turn myself, I get positive comments, it just keeps going on from there, because I'm going to get more people encouraging me to show more of it. And then because I don't have the emotional maturity to say no, to put boundaries, to say that I don't do certain things, I don't cross certain lines, I am getting praised for the little I'm doing. Then it becomes, the more I do, the more my praise. If I am showing let's say if I'm showing my cleavage on TikTok and I'm getting more gifts for it, what's stopping me from showing more of it to get more gifts? Do you understand? Like, I was scrolling through TikTok and I saw a lady, she's wearing a t-shirt, no bra on, and one of her breasts is in the t-shirt with her nipples poking, and people are just gifting her and just chatting with her on the live. She's just enjoying the vibe and people are just watching her and gifting her. Now, if this person were to be a young Ghanaian who is 18, 19, 16 on TikTok, what is this person going to be doing when they're older? This is like being encouraged to do these things. There's room for them to do more of it. Do you understand? So it's a bigger problem than we're seeing, and it's not just the social media platform that's the problem. It's a sociocultural problem.
Yeah, and one thing I also want to add, rightly, like you said, and I've said this before, I always say that, this may sound controversial, but men promote promiscuity. If you go and look into that chat, I don't know how many women are gifting this woman nothing, right?
Yeah.
But when you, and I actually said this in the office, when you look at what men are willing to put money behind, it will shock you. And so if this person is showing that I showed this and I got this, then all the people behind her are like, well, if she did this to get this, then I'm going to do bigger than that to get that. So there's also the greed aspect.
Right.
Because back then, we had to go to school to make some money. Now, you just show a little bit of something. Somebody will enter your DM and slap you some cash. Now, if I have to go to work 30 days in a week to make that money, and you only have to show one thing on TikTok and make that money, what do you think you will do for a living? Be a content
All
creator.
you need is data.
Exactly.
You don't
So
hear any data.
that's it. So if you have to go to work to make that money, and just one video, one small skin, bam, which one do you think you're going to be making? Yeah.
Definitely. So basically, it's like a numbers game.
Yes.
More of a numbers game than a
more
moral
comments, more gifts, more money.
platform.
Yeah, but it is, as like I'm saying, it's a sociocultural problem. It's a problem. I see a flaw in our education system where we're not cultivating children and who are growing into adults with emotional awareness, intelligence. We're not developing minds that are aware of their surroundings, aware of life and consequences, are aware of the value of loving yourself and loving yourself beyond external validation. We're not growing young people who see themselves as more valuable and doing things purely out of the need to get others to like them, to belong, the need to look or appear as a certain way. We are not growing our young people to be beyond that. We're still operating within, and that's because we don't even encourage the culture of asking questions. If you find very emotionally intelligent young people, you find that they ask a lot of questions. they're aware of their surroundings, they're aware of themselves, they're aware of their emotions. They can tell you, I'm feeling this type of way, I'm feeling that type of way, I am this type of person. They have boundaries. That culture comes from a lot of good parenting, but also the educational system must support that as well, and we currently don't have that. So we have people who are just academically being trained, passing through the system. They are smart, they pass their exams, they come out, and they join the society, they join the pool of human beings. And the pool of human beings is not everybody that is correct.
Yeah.
You know, and so you have people just doing whatever they like on TikTok, getting praised for it. Others, young people seeing it, oh, this is good, this must be good. Then if this influencer is being celebrated for this, then if I see my body and my body looks like hers, if she's getting this, why can't I?
And you know what I always say that shame left the room. Shame probably left like
chats long ago.
Like I don't know what year, but shame just left.
Disappeared.
You know, in the past we used to shame people for this behavior. Now we celebrate them. That's the problem. Shame left the room. I'm sure she left probably like 2010 or
She left
something
with COVID.
and never came back. Right? So now things that people used to be ashamed of back then, even in churches, like you do one bad thing, they'll take you to the back. Now if you misbehave, you will just go to a different church.
But Aram, shame is not even the solution.
No, I'm not saying it's a solution. That's what I'm saying, that in the past people used to be ashamed of these things.
Right.
But because now we're praising and supporting and rewarding this behavior, that's why it's becoming a menace.
Right. So shame has left the chat.
Not HAPPY, SHAME, shame.
Right, shame has left the chat. So we're also inviting you to join the chat. We don't want you to leave like the way shame has left. You can join via WhatsApp number 055-111-1997. The number once again 055-111-1997. You know, you can join us with your thoughts, because it's a very important topic. And if you have been worried lately about how young people have used social media, you might want to join us with your thoughts about what you think can be done about that. So shame has left the room. Let's extend this quite further. So if you look at, like, and I'm piggybacking off of your point about shame leaving the room, do you think it's having some effect on the self-esteem that the young people are trying to build as they grow up from their various schools into the work environment, even like general well-being and their own personal relationship? Do you think it's in a way affecting their self-esteem growing up?
I think somewhere last year, if I'm not mistaken, or no, the year before, there was this thing on Meta where they actually decided to take a decision where you can't even see the reactions to a post, because then people started being depressed by making a post and not getting a lot of comments and likes. People are deriving their validation from these external factors, right? I can post something that actually makes sense. I'll probably get like one like, but let me just post something stupid or funny. You will see the interactions. So now people are like, okay, if someone is not going to like me for my modest dressing, let me just show a split tie. And I always say this to my friends, like, if we all go somewhere and I'm dressed modestly, I can count like 1 or 2 people that's going to talk to me. But that my friend that is showing some cleavage and showing some tie. And the worst part is, even now, the gym. Oh my God. Like, I'm like, are we here to work out or are we here to create content? Now, why am I saying the new thing is now they are wearing tennis playing skirts to the gym? Like, what are we doing? Sometimes you can look. I saw one day, the girl is wearing a waist trainer. She's not wearing a bra and she's trying to run. That is such a ridiculous scene. And she's very endowed.
Okay.
On her upper level. It was such a... And like they are shooting content all because of what? Because society is supporting this behavior by rewarding them. So S&M is quite well endowed, but you see how she's dressed. But let her just post one picture showing us something. You will see all the
5K
people that,
likes.
and you will see the people that will even enter DM. And another reason why I said shame has left is in the past, when someone does these things, like they get shamed. Now, somebody will show their part and people will be dragging them. People will enter their DM.
The same people dragging them.
Will be in the DM. Oh, let's miss. Because what they saw on the internet is not enough. They need to verify. And they are willing to pay for it. And that's what's driving people, the external validation and the reward. But if we were shaming people where they had to go into a place to rethink that decision, next time they're not going to do that.
Shame is not the solution. Shame is not the solution, because shame too can lead to the person having more traumatic experiences, and it could also
maybe
go,
it's less trauma that's emboldening them.
no, it could also go south real quick, but on the point of esteem, man, your self-worth comes from you, and it's always from the inside. How many young people are thought to know this and believe it for themselves?
Not a lot, because some of us are actually now finding that out in
Exactly. You actually get this information and actually believe it when you are older. You come to appreciate this statement that your self-worth comes from you and nothing outside matters. You are what you believe you are. And that self-worth conversation is not had with people when they're growing up, or most people, if I should say. So you'd find that you're on TikTok, you're seeing ladies at the gym exercising, having a certain body type, and then you, that genetically, that is not your build. You see, your family, fortunately for you, you all have fine face, very beautiful face, very wonderful facial features with a lot of hair, but you are as flat as a cardboard, front and back. But that is who you are physically, and that is what your family and genetics have provided you. But when you look on TikTok and you see young ladies who are endowed, exercising and looking a certain way and being praised for their body shape and their structure, then you start feeling less off, because you think that you are inadequate with the build you have. But your strength is different. You have a fine face, you have the hair. Someone would also kill for that. But this understanding won't come to you in that moment, because your feelings of inadequacy will override any kind of logical reasoning that could make you feel better at that moment. So you end up with poor decisions, like going for a BBL, and the BBL too, if you don't have money to go to Turkey and you do it in Ghana, chances that you end up in Obinfo's mortuary quite high. You understand? So it's affecting a lot of people's self-esteem. You can post content, and like Aram said, you won't get a lot of traction because you're posting on serious stuff.
Yeah.
But your use of social media should be, I want to put my point across. I don't really care if anybody likes it or not. I want to express myself. Is that expression tied to outsiders' validation before it will be complete? Like, must it be tied to outsiders liking and commenting before you will feel a sense of accomplishment? No. It's just your point that you have, that you want to put across, and understanding that you're using social media for you. It is your page, it is your account, and you are the one who is spending data, you are the one who is spending time on it. It's yours. If you don't understand it and you're doing it for others, you always have your esteem tied to it, and any small thing can shake that, because it's not a good foundation. any small comment can lead you into a spiral. Like, you can be depressed if you go to a comment section and it's not great.
Yeah. So it's interesting, because my next question that was going to be asked was the fact that, of course, we realize that there's a responsibility somewhere, and it would be interesting to find out whose responsibility is it to make sure that this user, or this naive user, so to speak, is aware of all of these effects and educated on how much of themselves that they have to be, how much of a loving person they have to be to themselves, in order to, display this type of positive energy that we are talking about here on the show. But before we get there, I'd like to read a few something little over here, because we all have those when you are very low on cash, energy, time, cash, and even airtime and data. Well, that's why MTN Extra Time is an airtime and data advanced service that allows you to make calls or browse the internet even when you have insufficient balance. All you have to do is dial star 506 hash, go through the prompts, and select the amount of airtime or data you need. It's more than simple. Doing your favorite things on MTN means you don't get interrupted even when you are low on airtime or data. Please remember, all terms and conditions apply. So back to the conversation, whose responsibility is it to let the user know that, because like Isanam said, all you need is your data. So if I have my data and I'm on TikTok doing what I want, why should someone come and tell me what to do? I know myself. I think I know myself enough to know what's going on. And I made that decision to join this live conversation and flash whatever I want to flash. It's my data, it's my money, it's my life, my phone. Whose responsibility is it to let this person know?
First of all, I think it always boils down to who the owner of the child is. Your parents. Who brought you into this world, right? Your parents did. It's their responsibility to raise you. And while she was speaking, I remember that when I was a child, and funny enough, I was raised by my auntie, and one thing that she always used to tell me was how beautiful I was. So I'll use myself as an example, and it's not coming from a place of pride. I've always known that I was beautiful. So it was not a validation that I needed from other people. A lot of things you can't insult me that ugly. Like, have you seen me?
We have seen you.
Thank you. So I know that I am dropped. And this sometimes I look at myself and I'm like, damn, I am so cute. 10 over 10 on every side, but that's not why we're here. So but then you see, there are people who also were raised from places of trauma and abuse and having their self-worth degraded. And sometimes parents do this subconsciously. The things that you say to your children, their child would always affect them. This thing that I'm saying was said to me when I was way younger. And that time that it was said to me, I wasn't really even looking that cute in my own eyes. But then I was a teenager then, right? But then that stuck with me. So I've always had that. I've always been surrounded by people that have always boosted my confidence. And that's why some people have superiority complex. You see somebody that in their mind that they are whoever they say they are, but when you look at them, you're like, but this person went from this non-far confidence. But you see, somebody will also have all of that and lack that confidence and be looking for that from people on the internet. Now, so back to the parents. And also, for me, even at my big age, I have people who hold me accountable. There are things that, in fact, I posted something today and someone I know called me and said, you need to take that post down. Even now, there are things that I post and people tell me, take that post down. That is so tacky.
Yeah.
So there's no way in my life I am joining a live. Do you understand the ruckus that will happen? Like, I will have people calling me and like family members and friends. So the accountability doesn't even just come from people, even the circle of people that you roll with. And sometimes when you see some people's behavior, it boils down to the circle of friends that they are in. There are people who are competing with each other. So one person gets a nose job, the other person gets a boobs job, then they get their ass done, and then by the time you realize they've all gotten their ass done. Because when she got her ass done, she was walking on the floor. Now she has a car. Oh, then I'm going to get
one upgrade.
that is even bigger than her. So it boils down from family to friends to environment. I'll give you a typical example. On a normal day, I just like to be normal and rise and move. But now I'm working in an environment where people dress like they work at the central bank. I'm telling you, pressure. Hi.
You have to
Now,
keep up.
I realize that if I'm dressed, I'm like, hey, let me do this, let me, because of the environment in which I find myself. So the influence can be positive and negative. To the school, some people take their children to certain schools because they want them to fit in. Now your child is giving you things to buy that you know you cannot afford. But that's the school, that's the environment you put their child. And that child feels like, if I don't have this iPad Pro, I'm not it. If I don't, and then people are giving their children phones at very young ages, and they don't have controls, they don't have all these apps that set as guardrails.
Yeah.
So you have this standard of, your child may look some way but have this standard of beauty. There are children who are having child obesity, but then they are thinking, oh, skinny kids are the new ish. Every term you are sewing uniform because your child keeps expanding. Instead of telling them that maybe, and there are some people too who grew up big and then with time they trimmed, and there are some people too is the opposite, right? But parents need to be intentional.
Actually, for me, they didn't even think I'll gain weight ever. My mom said when she gave birth to me, I weighed 2.3 pounds. Like she thought I was a rat.
Look at her now.
Now look at me now.
Look at her with all this endowment. Do you understand? So parents need to be intentional with their children, the information that they are consuming. And like she said, when they come and ask you questions, answer them. Don't just brush them away. Or you like talking too much. Or you are asking, why are you asking me this question?
Yeah.
Engage your children. Because one thing I know for sure, if you don't teach your children, the internet will.
The internet will teach your children. Now, I want to remind you that the show is probably brought to you by MTN. MTN everywhere you go. Now, Isinam, whose responsibility is it on your part, do you think, has to, has that responsibility to tell the person that you need to do this? Like she was mentioning, she has some people that are able to call her.
She's mentioned family, she's mentioned friends. The social media platform in itself, I'm sure they have regulations to flag these things, and I don't know why they don't, because I know that TikTok is very sensitive to these things. Even if you're doing something that has a bit of nudity or nude content. I remember I used to narrate some stories on TikTok, crazy confessions. Some of them were flagged down because of the subject matter. So I don't know why being nude isn't even allowed on lives, but I guess live is different from videos, and I guess the regulations are a bit relaxed when it comes to it. But I think that the platform also has the responsibility of flagging some of these things. But beyond that, I mean, it's not, the platform doesn't owe you that. The platform is the platform. What you choose to do with it is what matters. I think that we should include digital sensitivity and wellness in ICT curriculum for young people in high school, in junior high school, in senior high school. Young people should be educated. I think that generally we leave out the psychosocial wellness part of our training, and I think that should be actively included in our curriculum, and then the young person sensitized on some of these things. I think the parents also have a responsibility of being conscious of what their children are doing on social media. What friends and family should be more accountable, in terms of when you see someone doing something on social, go and tell her mother.
Yes.
If you see someone taking off their top on TikTok, go and tell her father. I'm sure she'd be more cautious of that. I think we should be more accountable to each other and not see something and say, whatever they choose to do, they should do it. No, it's not great, because these things they spiral real quick.
They do. And then it's so funny when you're saying that. A friend of ours had this glitch recently. So I'm checking Snapchat, and then I see my friend, and I'm saying body. I say, what? I caught like somebody that I know that's good. So I'm like, what is going on with this person's feed? Like, what's going? Apparently, she wasn't even trying to post the picture. Something just happened. Like, and then the
just
picture
accidentally went up.
That's the kind of protection that we need to create. Back then, if your parents see you, your neighbor sees you misbehaving, they'll go report you to your mother. And by the time you get home, the news of your bad behavior has already gotten there.
Arrived.
And the beating is waiting for
you.
But now, hey, this person's child, if you touch somebody's child right now, problem. So
do you think, because from the conversation we just had, I mean, this last lap of conversation we had, I see a pattern in terms of the sort of communality that we used to have growing up.
Missing.
I mean, we used to consider our little communities as our villages.
Yes.
Every child's issue was of concern to the neighbor or the next family. But these days, what it is that, I mean, like you mentioned, I can't go and touch someone. I lived in a community where, and it was a bar, so I lived in a community where someone's father could find you somewhere or find you doing something that is wrong, and right there and then
beat you.
They can beat you. And when you go, you can't even go and report to your parents that you were beaten by this person, because you risk a second
beating
round of beatings. Because why did you do that? Why did you do
left.
that? And I think we are losing that as a
we have
as a,
lost
as a
it.
people.
It's not we are losing it. Me, I live in a house.
Beating too is not great. You guys stop encouraging.
That's not the
violent
point.
behavior.
No,
It's not that
no,
great.
it's not about
Great.
violence.
It's about the concern
correction.
and the correction, of course.
I live in a house with people. I only saw my neighbor after 6 months. Do you understand? That's the community in which we live now. That's the system in which we live now. Everybody is minding their business,
Which is also has its benefits, because Kokonsatu is not so nice.
If I see anybody part of yours, I'm calling people that know you to tell you.
And it's not just a
You won't see
cocoa.
my dear.
Exactly.
You won't see anybody.
Because you see, and
so it comes from the person's decision not to do it. You don't get it. The solution to the problem is stopping people from doing it in the first place, because there's the post action, in fact the reactions to the actions sometimes comes a little too late, sometimes can be more detrimental to the person, sometimes the effect of it could outweigh what possible correction you would want to give to this person. So stop the problem at the source.
that's going to be hard. I feel like that is easier said than done, but at the same time, there's this phrase of someone being a scapegoat. Sometimes that somewhat somehow deters other people from doing that. If you live in an environment where bad behavior is encouraged and not discouraged with consequences, then people will continue to do it. So what we're saying is it's about one of the ways to even stop the source of these things is making sure that there are repercussions. And I mean, even there are issues of regulations where some countries are even shutting down some of these apps and what people can put up on some of these apps, right? Some people say it's the responsibility of the app owners to make sure that these things don't pass some sort of checks to go live. But who is going to enforce that? That is another key thing, because if you're on a platform that's popular that says you cannot post nudity, then you cannot post nudity.
Because that brings us to another important part of the conversation, which has to do with regulation.
Yes.
I mean, every country has its own regulation, despite the fact that all of these companies, these tech companies, and even not just in the tech space, insurance, everywhere, marketing, anywhere that is formalized, there's usually a formal regulatory system or a regulatory framework that applies to it contextually in the area.
Yeah.
Do you think in Ghana, for instance, there has been a lot of frameworks when it comes to regulating social media in our local context?
We have bigger problems.
Fact, because I'm thinking, imagine, when there was a ban, or there was supposed to be a ban on TikTok in the US, and on the 19th of January, TikTok was supposed to, from the 19th of January, TikTok was supposed to be not ineffective in US, so you can't use TikTok, you can't access the content and things. The kind of uproar that came as a result of that. Imagine a country like Ghana. Do we have the capacity to cause that kind of uproar? If they say, if we go and we say we are regulating TikTok's usage in Ghana, they don't even care about us, because how many of our users are even on their platform compared to other countries? They can forget about your small country and move on. They don't care about your country. So the problem I'm saying is beyond the app. The app and its developers have done their best to put in community guidelines, to put in certain regulations within the app. The onus lies on us as a country, with people, to make sure that we're protecting our young ones from it. So that's where the solution is. Cut it at the source. Kill the snake's head. Kill the snake from the head.
Even in terms of business and what we do, right? Even most brands have brand safety regulations.
Yeah.
Where they have their apps that prevent the ads that we buy for clients from showing up on some of these platforms. So, that is their way of killing that. So you as a parent, what are you doing to prevent your children from accessing certain platforms? What is the age limit for your child? Why does your 16-year-old have TikTok? Like, what are they doing on TikTok? Because there is nothing in there, like when you give them the form to access these things, there's nothing preventing them from searching anything they've heard or seen. And there's certain things that when you see them, you can't unsee it.
Some apps even have different versions for children.
Yeah.
Like YouTube for kids. And
even DSTV has, like, that. You have to be hands-on in this technological age. As a parent, you have to be hands-on.
I think the parents owe their children a lot more responsibility beyond feeding them and clothing them
and paying school fees.
So they have to be
you owe the child you owe the child safety on the internet. And safety in terms of perceiving the kind of information that comes to them, receiving the kind of access they have on the internet, like being the good roadblock to their accessing a lot of these negative things on the internet. You owe your children the responsibility of training them to be better internet users, to be better social media users, also training them to be able to say no to things, to have boundaries, to value themselves beyond social media and external validation.
Back then when we're kids, if you're watching a movie and a naughty scene comes, they let you go behind the couch or close your eyes. Ask children of today.
Yeah.
That them will open their eyes and enter inside the TV.
No, but even with that, right? I don't see a problem with it, because this is a teachable moment. It's a time for you to say, okay, this happens, but it happens between two people who have decided to be together, and in best case scenarios are married. You that is your chance to have a proper conversation with your child, because what you're trying to keep them from, they would learn about it one way or the other. And most of the time, if it doesn't come from you, or it doesn't come from a good source, it will come from a corrupted source.
Absolutely.
Either their peers, or they would see it online somewhere, they would read it somewhere, and the kind of information they would have, or they will have access to firsthand, would corrupt their thinking. So it's better for you to be the one they're learning from firsthand.
So considering the fact that, like you've mentioned, parents are very important gatekeepers when it comes to receiving the sort of information that comes to their kids. Coupling that with the fact that it is even a non-starter to talk about a general or an institutionalized regulator for social media here in Ghana. There are some institutions that we've come to accept as a society that are authoritative enough in our various communities. Like religious leaders are a big deal when it comes to that area. There are opinion leaders, cultural leaders in various communities. Do you think many of them are equipped enough to have these types of conversations with the youth that they have around them?
Do you want me to tell the truth or do you want me to lie? I'm a terrible liar.
You want the radio answer or you want the truth?
You want the truth. You already. You want the truth.
Haibo. God help us.
Are they equipped?
You see, I would give you let me come this way. I grew up in a very religious situation. Go to church, Sunday school, all of that through the youth, everything, right? Everything. If I tell you my eyes have seen shaggy, you see. And see, they may not necessarily be equipped, but I feel like the short answer to this is honest conversations. These people need to be able to have the honest conversations with the young people. When they come up to you and ask you a question, if it's going to be a forum or a conversation, these are conversations that it's only recently that even churches started having career conversations in the church with young people. You want to go down that rabbit hole. It's about the courage to have the conversation and to be honest about it. But most of the things that we do in the religious sector is under a lot of blanket
with mystery and secrecy and some sort
but
of.
It's just tech. It's just TikTok. It's just Facebook. It's just.
Let's just continue.
Instagram.
Yeah, I told you are not ready for this.
Okay.
Right, the conversation is getting very interesting, but we have to go for our quick tech fixes.
Hello there, my name is Michelle Ajakum, and as usual, I bring you some tech quick fixes and tips right here on Joy Geek Squad. Today, let's talk about how to get your money in order with these apps. 1. Mint app. It helps you track expenses and set budgets. 2. YNAB app. That's the You Need a Budget app. It's perfect for detailed budgeting. 3. Personal Capital app. It's great for investments and net worth tracking. 4. Pocket Guard app. It helps you avoid overspending with spending limits. And that's it. Take control of your finances this year.
Welcome back to Geek Squad here on Joy 99.7 FM with me, Kenneth, Awotwe, Darko. My guests today so far have given very interesting insight to this conversation today. I didn't think we were going to end up where we are at this point in this conversation because even both on and off air, the conversations that have been happening here, I can't even speak on half of them. But it is obviously essential that these platforms are there. They have their advantages, as Esinam said in the beginning. Do you think that people we call influencers or people that have a lot of authority on these platforms have done enough to basically explain to their followers or the people that they have looking up to them about some of these issues and the excesses that it comes with? Do you see anyone doing that, or you think it's
no.
there's more to be done?
I mean, I don't know what percentage, so I'm not even going to bring numbers. Maybe Esna might attempt to do that, but these people are in this business to make money. And so I remember I was having a conversation with someone who wanted to be an influencer, and I explicitly asked him, what type of influencer, what kind of influencer do you want to be? Because at that point, his content was giving mixed signals. So you as an individual need to have your own strategy, your own boundaries, and know the kind of person you want to be. There's some influencers who will never work with certain brands. They are all about all natural and stuff, and so they will never double in certain products. Those are personal rules. And sometimes people may follow them because of that authenticity. But we're living in a world where authenticity is not selling all the time. So that also comes with an opportunity cost, right? So if the person is all about the masses, they will sell anything on the internet. So somebody, and that's why they might also have people who come to them with anything because they feel like their followers are gullible. And some people know that their followers are gullible. So they will come and sell them anything and
take advantage.
And take advantage of it to make money because he or she is going to get paid and go. Whatever happens to you after you use that product or for the backlash is not onto them, and they'll move on to the next product.
Right.
Are influencers influential? Is that your question?
Are you an influencer or an influencer?
Are you influencing your people positively and pushing them away from negative trends?
I think influencers are doing their best. They're living their lives and they're sharing their lives with their audience. It's up to you to pick what you want to pick from it. You know, I follow some of them. I follow Gisela, Mabella, and Kitachi.
I don't know. None of these people.
No, I mean, I see their content most of the time, and for them, they are living their lives, you know, and they've decided to share their lives with me. That's how I see it. Mm-hmm. It is not my aim to be like them. If they are showing me something, it is for me to decide, do I need this thing that they're showing me, and do I need it in my life? Even if they are promoting a product, it is a question of, will I need this product, and do I think it will be beneficial to me? Even if it will be, is it by force that I buy it? You know. So again, it's about the person who has access to this information, what they're doing with this information. But I think that the influencers have done their best to tell people that this is me and this is my life, and this is what I am showing you. It's up to you to decide which part of my life you think you want to live, or you want to, you know, associate with. It really isn't, the responsibility isn't on the influencer to give you positive trends. They are living their life. If they're doing something you think is negative, it's up to you to call it out. You know, it's not their responsibility to be role models for you. For them, they are living their lives.
Right. That's a very interesting perspective as well. And we are almost wrapping up the show. Any final words from you to just in 10 seconds, then we run out?
Use social media wisely.
Use social media wisely, because whatever it's not everything that you see that's real.
Right. Yeah. I think my advice is also get good people around you so that they can call you when you post some of those things that you don't know how detrimental they are going to be for you. But that's how I draw the curtain on today's edition of Geek Squad on Joy 99.7 FM. I'm Kenneth Darko. I did this today with my beautiful guests, Noeli Era Mabla, who is a digital media manager, and Esinam Batali, who is also a digital marketing strategist. We'll meet again some other time. Have a good evening.
Like a small boat on the ocean, sending big waves